Greetings and welcome, one and all. I am Dr. Wolf, and today I am joined by David from the BYU Bronies, and we just finished watching Episode 7, Star Wars The Force Awakens. We've been looking forward to this for weeks, and it's finally happened. Holy cow, we're trying to collect our thoughts after watching all of that, honestly.
Oh yeah, I had no idea what to expect, and during the entire film, I didn't know where it was going, but it was incredible just following this journey afresh. Yeah.
I wanted to start this video with very short to the point review saying it's well worth it. Mm-hmm. Go see it. I was worried about all the hype that was going into this, and I remember from long ago all the hype that went into the Episode 1 Phantom Menace. So I was tempering my expectations going into this film, but short story, it's worth it. Go see it. You'll have a lot of fun with it. There is quite a bit that we want to talk about beyond that, but we're going to do our very best to keep it spoiler-free.
Yes.
Because, yes, it is definitely better if you don't know where it's going before you go watch it. Mm-hmm. And first thing that comes to mind, like I said earlier, back in 1999, I waited in line for, I remember it was a couple of days, this was my senior year in high school, to see Phantom Menace, because holy cow, that movie had been hyped to no end. And I was supremely excited to see it. And I had a hard time convincing myself that it was really worth all that hype and time I put into going to see it. I didn't feel that way here because, one, I bought my ticket several weeks ago and then just put it away, and I waited in the theater for a couple of hours. That's it. Yeah. And I wasn't expecting this grand, epic, amazing film to be unmatched by anything else I've ever seen.
Wasn't this, in fact, the same theater
yes.
you saw Phantom Menace in? So the exact same movie theater.
Yeah, the same exact movie theater I went to go see Phantom Menace in all those years ago.
He's old.
Yes, people have pointed that out many times.
Oh, yes. So I agree with Dr. Wolf. I really enjoyed the movie, and I have a small qualm here or there, but I don't like to give qualms before someone actually sees the movie for themselves. So go in with a blank slate, enjoy the ride for what it is, and when you come out on the other side and you find out you have a couple small things, just take into account that the thing on the whole was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get into some specifics, but we will refrain from doing any spoilers here. Mm-hmm. I want to say that it captures so much of the great feelings that you get from watching Episode 4.
Oh, yeah.
It really draws you in, and you have a lot of fun with it. I will say that my favorite character throughout the entire film, or should I say characters, was the dynamic between Han Solo and Chewbacca. Oh, yeah. Because I was a little concerned about whether they would be able to recapture some of their old camaraderie and their hilarious one-liners, but in that aspect they did a fantastic job. And yes, it is definitely worth watching the movie even for just those two alone.
Exactly. I also think that BB-8, the new droid they bring in, is fantastic. The story behind them actually making this thing, it's actually a working droid. It is not graphics. This is a functioning droid. So you're seeing an actual thing going through the movie set. And the character they give this droid is impressive. Mm-hmm. And something else you're always worried when you bring in something that's so successful. You're worried about fan service getting in the way of a good story, and I felt like they struck a happy medium here where they brought back things that were familiar to the fans that got us to laugh and got us to go, oh, to remember the good days. But at the same time, they didn't dwell on that. They moved on. They let this story go forward, and BB-8's a new part of that story, and I thought she, because it is a she AI, is a very good new part of the Star Wars franchise.
Mm. I definitely had lot of fun watching the droid during the lighthearted moments.
She's very expressive.
Yes, right. These new characters, these new main characters, when they focus on being lighthearted, when they focus on the action sequences with these two, when they focus on the one-liners even, the movie is great. The movie is fantastic. It is so much fun. When the main characters, and I dare say even the rest of the cast, has to focus on being completely serious, it's good. It's definitely worth watching, and it will definitely draw you in, but I wouldn't put it at quite the same level as the lighthearted moments, because the lighthearted moments are strewn throughout the entire film. You will never go more than 5-6 minutes without some of those great moments. But when it's time to be serious, I'd say the movie is good. Not great, but good. Well worth the watch, but I'm not as excited to go back and watch the whole thing again. I can imagine that next time I come across this film, there are certain parts that I will want to see again, and certain parts that I would really want to enjoy, but the serious moments, yeah, I've already seen them, and I don't think there's much more that would want me to draw back into it. What do you think?
And I think it's also very hard to start off kind of on a new vein. It's something old and familiar, and yet we have to make it seem new and fresh and give intrigue into where this is going to go. And I think J.J. Abrams, he's got a battle plan for where this thing wants to go. And even if this first one feels a little bit slow, perhaps in comparison why the fourth one would feel slow in comparison to 5 and 6, I think we're going to have something even better come along the horizon. So we're starting out good, and I think we can only go up from there.
Right. As far as I know, Disney plans to release a new Star Wars film every year.
Yes.
The main Star Wars film franchise, episodes 7, 8, and 9, that's going to be every other year, but split in between those are going to be side story films.
Like Rebels.
Yeah. And the way this ended, I can start to see where they intend to go with that. Start to see. But I'm sure they're going to surprise us in many different ways. And like David was mentioning before, there's a lot in this movie that will surprise you. There is a lot that will exceed your expectations. It'll drive in a new direction you just didn't see coming.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that for most of the points, I myself, even near the end, could tell where they were going and could see those kind of moments that are really going to last in people's minds. Again, I recommend that people go into this without spoilers, without knowing what to expect, because this is the kind of film that you have a lot more fun with if you don't know where it's going, and it's pretty good at keeping you guessing. Especially during the first half, you're not entirely sure what kind of movie it's going to be.
Yeah.
I honestly think I had more fun with the first half than the second half.
Yeah, the first half, it's so hard to think about like that, but yeah, the entire time I was shocked. I didn't see any of it coming. Well, okay, at a certain point you do see something coming, and you know, like, it's coming, and then it happens. Like, dang it, I knew it was going to happen. But yeah, it was very interesting the first half to meet these characters and wonder what is going on, and then in the second half you kind of start building the bridge back to what's familiar, and so you're a little bit you're a little bit more level, but you still don't understand what's going to happen until it happens.
These next elements are a bit more specific, but I know they're not spoilers. I am grateful that they are trying to reintroduce the Force as this something mystical, something unknown. There is not a single mention of midichlorians anywhere. Thank you for that. I'm glad that they are trying to recapture some of the mystery behind the Force that was in episodes 4, 5, and 6. I hope they keep going on that route.
Because, the Force and the Jedis, they're more of a religion than a philosophy or than a secular type group. There's a lot of mysticism around it, like you said.
Yeah.
And, once you put a midichlorian thing on it, then it's like, oh, so it's in their biology? It's something you can get in a blood count? I mean,
Right.
So that's good that they went back with the original feel of the Force being something that not everyone understands. People joke about it, including Han Solo.
Yeah.
But even what he says in the trailer, it's all true. It's all true. Doesn't quite know what it is, but it's true.
Something else that I really, really appreciate is that they have toned down the CG and they have introduced a lot more practical effects. Mm-hmm. People have been talking about it for months, and they have delivered. There are a lot more practical effects, impressive practical effects, like the droid you mentioned earlier, something they actually built for the movie.
Yeah.
You see these things, they're actually there. You're more invested in these effects because you feel like you can reach out and touch them if you were there in the scene with them.
Something else interesting about the scenes is if you think about in the original trilogy, they have a very distinctive architecture and design to what the bad guys look like and what the good guys look like. And then you go to the prequels, and it's completely different. And what I like about the 7th movie is they've kept a lot of those small things that are very familiar that you'd only be able to catch if you had watched the original trilogy. Like, yeah, that was something that I saw in the Death Star, something that I saw on a TIE fighter. They've changed, yes. They've definitely remolded a lot of the costume design, but they've kept a lot of the familiarity.
Mm-hmm. The music is classic John Williams. I don't know how many new tracks there were in this film, but I could tell they were putting a lot more focus on what's familiar, what we remember from the original trilogy. And they use the music very effectively when it's needed to be there. There are plenty of silent moments that will make you sit back and ponder what you've just seen, but when that music comes in, it's still so wonderfully effective at drawing you into the story. I love that. I hope they keep doing that. And let me think. Yeah,
we're getting towards the end here. Let me see if we've covered everything. So sound effects and the visuals, both very stunning. They introduced some new sound effects, but they kept a lot of the old stingers of like the sound the laser makes, the sound the lightsaber makes.
Yes.
But they've introduced a couple new sound effects that I wasn't expecting, and it'll be fun if you can pick them out. Like I said, a lot of it brings back the original feel, especially to the 4th movie, the original A New Hope. A lot of it, you go into scenes, you're like, this feels oddly familiar. I think I've been here before, but I can't quite place it.
Right.
Interesting characters. Humor was well placed, but it didn't take over the movie. It wasn't like, oh boy, this again. No, it was very well placed. And like I said, I have small qualms in the movie, but those qualms are usually things that a lot of movies break, and you'll recognize it once you see it. It's a classic that all movies have to deal with.
Right.
But I'm still excited for what comes next. It suspended my disbelief. I'm ready for more.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, when the movie focuses on being lighthearted, being humorous, being fun, it's great. When it needs to focus more on being serious, it's good. I have yet to see where they're intending to go with this, and I think there's a lot of potential with it, but the serious moments weren't drawing me in anywhere near as much as the lighthearted moments. So go in, temper your expectations, don't look for something grand, epic, never going to be matched. Go in and just enjoy the ride.
Exactly. I think that's some very good advice.
Yep.
Go see it. Go see it before anyone spoils it for you. And if anyone does spoil it for you, there's a special place in Hades reserved for them. No
right. Well, I'm glad that I was able to do this reaction video. I've never done one quite like this for any movie before, and seeing how Star Wars was such a big part of my youth, I hope to be able to do more of these in the future. We'll see.
Oh, one more small thing. Post in the comments what your experience was like at the movie theater. At ours, we had a couple cosplayers, but go ahead and post what your experiences were like.
Yeah. And as per usual, I am Dr. Wolf, and thank you, David, for helping with this.
Always a pleasure.
We look forward to hearing from you.